for coming on and participating in this project. Please go ahead and introduce yourself, your name, major slash any minors, and if you have any like pre-professional tracks that you plan to go towards after undergrad and what school you go to.
Okay. Hi, my name is Tatsuo Kumamoto. I'm Japanese and I have a Japanese name, but I'm Taiwanese. And my major right now is applied mathematics. I don't plan on changing it, but in the near future, I want to add a minor or so, either music, econ, or something techie. I don't know yet, actually, and maybe psych. I don't have, huh?
Wait, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't have pre-professional tracks, and I go to UCSD. And since UCSD have multiple colleges system, particularly in Marshall College.
Okay. So what made you choose the major that you chose? So applied math?
I'd say that actually, I think I'm not really comfortable in subjects that are other than math. I can't really work long time on it, and I don't really like them or have interest in them. But I do have interest in math, so I already knew that I wanted to go in like that kind of field. Math involves a lot of things, and it's basis for a lot of very like extensive various fields. So I was like, I actually don't know what I want to do in the future. So maybe for now, if I choose applied math, it would be a safe choice. And as I go through the university 4 years, I can hopefully find what I like and then proceed in that specific direction.
Speaking of going through the university, why did you decide to choose attending UCSD specifically?
To give my honest and fullest opinion, I think UCSD was not my top choice. So in a way, I could say that I chose UCSD because it was better than other schools in many occasions. Tuition was a huge concern as well because of the 2 or 3 schools that I was considering, and UCSD happened to be, I guess you can say, the most cost efficient. I think tuition cost, and for me, because I'm an international student, the dormitory fee and everything together becomes a huge concern. But one thing that I like made me really wanted me to go to UCSD was the environment that it is in. For me, I get influenced by the environment a lot. And then the other 2 schools that I was considering were all in the East Coast, and I like warm places better. So I was like, okay, like next to the beach and really good weather and pretty safe area as well. So UCSD is good in terms of that. Also, I've never been to a public school. Even when I was in Japan, Taiwan, I'm gonna explain that later. But so I wanted to see how going to a public school will change me in a way, because I know that it's different in every single country.
For sure.
And also, lastly, math has research in the future too, and I know that UCSD was a huge research school, so I wanted to see if I could make use of that in the future.
Yeah, so for you, like it was mainly because you wanted to explore like like being at like a large public institution. Like, so what are like the class sizes like at UCSD?
So far, I'm a freshman, and so far, the classes I've taken, the largest have been like around 300 or so. Yeah, it's pretty big. It's like, if you think about it, it's like a movie theater. If you think about it, like imagine a movie theater, and it's like there's so many rows, and then like columns of seats, and then everything is filled. That's kind of like how I think about it. But there's still small classes where I've only had like 50 people. Those are possible too, and particularly for discussions, it's always been around 20 to 30. It varies, but most of them are really big.
Yeah. Okay. So, did you have any fears or concerns about going to a school in a different state or environment? Like what?
For me, like I'm pretty used to going to new environments due to the fact that I've been an international student since 5th grade. I could give my background a little bit here so
Yeah,
that
just
it
go ahead.
becomes a clear. Um, so I was born and raised in Japan until the earthquake on March 11th happened. I was fifth grade back then, and then my parents decided to send me to Taiwan with my sister. So then I studied in Taiwan from fifth grade to eighth grade, and then that's when my sister graduated. So I had to, well, my parents and I had to make a choice to whether continue my education in Japan, because Taiwan wasn't a choice for me anymore, and then to go to America to continue my English education, because Taiwan has a really good basis for English education. Then I decided to apply to high school in America, and then I went to San Francisco for my high school around the Bay Area. And then after that, I decided to continue my education here. So that's when I decided to apply to university and colleges in America.
So,
Um,
oh yeah, go ahead.
um, and back to the original question about if I had any fear, no, because I think I'm pretty used to going to a new environment, as you can probably imagine, because I've been moving. Um, but like it always comes with uncertainty, like every single environment is different. But for me, it's more like a little bit exciting and challenging, but it doesn't necessarily make me like anxious or like make me like fear about the future and things like that. Yeah.
Like you talked about moving to Taiwan first, right? Was it kind of did you ever experience like any like anxious or like nervous feelings when you did at the time, because like that was your first shift, but then you
Yeah,
kind of got used to moving, right?
I think I did a lot actually. So it's because I can talk about the class size. It got way bigger when I went to Taiwan, because I went to a really small school in Japan. And then when I moved to Taiwan, it was really big. And then everybody was speaking Mandarin around me. Back then I only had like basic Mandarin done. So I could hold like a good conversation with people, but the speed is what
Mm-hmm.
was really troublesome for me. Um, and like people were nice to me though. Taiwanese people are really passionate, so compassionate. So um, that's what like got me used to the new environment. But yes, I did have a lot of concerns. Cultural difference was huge too, because people would be talking about jokes and like recent topics, but I don't know, maybe like music or like TV shows. But
Yeah.
then I wouldn't know them obviously because I'm from Japan and I don't even watch like movies and things like that a lot. Eventually I got used to talking to them about those things, but
Mm-hmm.
at first I guess you can call it just a cultural shock, but cultural difference made a huge like source of my um, like fear and worries back then.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Like, how is that shift, like living in an Asian country to like a Western culture, like for
Mm.
you in terms of like,
um I think the level in which spoke English
mm-hmm.
when I moved to America, and then the level of Mandarin that I spoke was pretty different, I'd say. I was
Mm-hmm.
able to like comfortably hold a conversation in English. So when I came to America, in terms of communicating, I had less problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I was already like fully grown teenager,
Yeah.
I guess. And then yeah, there was another culture shock when I came to America. Um, Jokes, even sometimes I still don't really get it. But I'd say like one thing that I found really comfortable and like I was like, oh, I can talk about this with people and I can like try to socialize and make friends was to talk about my international experience,
Yeah.
because I feel like a lot of times like people in America um, don't have a lot of chances to go out of their countries.
Mm-hmm.
um, and me speaking about like how my experiences are
Yeah.
a lot of times interested a lot of other people. And I'd say I'm a pretty like I like laugh a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that makes the environment a little bit easier to communicate with me. But cultural difference is something that's really big that I've been experiencing throughout my entire life when I go to a new country. But that's why I also like experiencing new culture, because when I notice that difference, me getting over that, me trying to break through that difference is by talking to people about like what the culture is. I'm pretty like curious about the culture too, so I usually like ask them. Um, so yeah, I think
So Given if there's anyone out there who is considering becoming an international student, say like if they're currently a student in America and like looking to schools internationally, or someone who is not going to school in America and is looking to an education in America in terms of college, like is there any advice you give them or like anything you'd say to your former self? Like,
Okay. I'm sure everybody out there can like cope with academic situation really well.
yeah,
So when I say academic like factors, it's more like let's say your grade dropped. Like you just have to like work harder and then get back. Like the schools will give resources for you. So I don't particularly have like advices in terms of that.
yeah,
For social, I do have a lot of advices because I think that's what people struggle the most. And when they want to go out of their country, I think people have a vision of like, I want to see what's out there. I want to see what's
yeah.
different about the country that I'm going to. Um, I'd say people should keep an open mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd say because you're probably going there for language reason as well, you should talk, you should speak, and you should communicate with the people that are there as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes what I've noticed is there are customs in other countries that I'd be like, oh, that's, I say interesting, as in like that's weird or awkward. But when you talk to them, because every single thing has a reason, right? And
Yeah,
you will hear the reason, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
yeah.
And that's where you'll be like, oh wait, actually there's something similar in, like, let's say for me, Japan is my home country, so I'll be like, oh, there's something similar in Japan too. It's just it's being done in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's when I like, that's what I find the most interesting actually. It's how like similar ideas can be presented or represented really differently in different cultures. So I'd say keep an open mindset. um it's okay to have an opinion. So I think you
Mm-hmm.
can say that, oh, that's weird, or maybe something, mm, maybe there's a custom, and maybe like people say like Japanese are kind of too isolating in a way, almost like
Mm-hmm.
right now social distancing, like sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes Japanese are social, like socially distant, but like, and you can't say that, oh, like I'm not going to do that, but you can
Mm-hmm.
understand why they do that.
Yeah.
That would benefit you in understanding why, like why people behave in a certain way. And then
Mm-hmm.
when you like judge people, it makes it harder for you to interact with those people. But I think
Yeah.
when you understand why people are that way, it makes it easier for you to communicate with anybody, because I think like in the end, like anybody can talk to anybody. There's no like, you can have like favors in terms of like personalities and customs and things like
Yeah.
that. You can, but you can still communicate with everybody, and it always increases your insight if you talk to.
Yeah. So like just keep an open mind, try to understand different cultures because at the end of the day, we're all human and we're all trying to figure things out. And like
Yeah.
even if different cultures have like different ways to do certain things, they're all like trying to show love to each other and like but just in
Hmm.
different ways. Like,
Yeah.
okay, that's really awesome and amazing and really insightful. Like,
You
thank
worded
you
it
for
perfectly.
sharing.
Yeah.
Let's see. What was your specific experience with the college application process like? And would there, for a student who is currently going through the college application process or will go through it, like, is there any advice you'd give to them?
Okay. I'd say it was tedious. Um, that's like the best word to describe it.
Yeah.
Not the actual workload, actually. I think if you are not the procrastinating type, the workload is okay. It's the fact that you have to think about it. That's the part that most wore me
Stumps a
out.
lot of people.
Yeah, because like you start thinking about it during summer, and then you go through it until you finish all the app, like
Yeah.
until you finish all like turning in.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm pretty sure it was like December. That's when I finished, or like January. Like think about how like, let's say you have to think about one specific like project for like a span of 6 months. Like that's really tiring. So I think
Mhm.
that's the part that tired me the most. But what helped me was talking it out with other friends. Obviously, like your common topic becomes college app, and then
Yeah.
it actually helped me get back in touch with other international students who went from Japan to America, or who went from Taiwan to America. So
Mhm.
that's like a kind of like a good part for me. I was like, oh, how are you doing with your college app? I'm like, whoa, you're applying to that school, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was really tedious. And in terms of like what advice I would give, I think like for me, the way I de-stress is by talking to others. So I'd say if you're stressed out about it, do your own way to like solve it, whether it be, I don't know, like playing music, uh, playing games, or I don't know, maybe like journaling. But
Mhm.
specifically for this one, I'd give advice by talking to others. And it's because like you have a common topic. And a small like thing to think about is like you also have to be kind of considerate, because maybe like the environment is kind of competitive in America, I'd
Yeah,
say. So
for sure.
um, be careful with how you use your words to maybe like describe like or give opinions, because people may be sensitive about it.
Yeah.
But talking about it, I think, still helps. Saying like what struggles you're going through. Um, yeah. Also start early,
Yeah.
because I didn't.
I
uh,
totally agree with that.
yeah. I'm procrastinating type, so I didn't do a lot of things at the until the end. Specifically essay. I actually had all my like um, documents, like international students document, or like common app, like basic information parts, those kind of things.
Mhm.
Those were done for me, but essays I procrastinated on, and I remember fixing it until like 1 hour before the turn in. At the end, I was like, I'll just send this in, and I sent it in. Yeah,
What about like the actual figuring out like the essay process and like that kind of stuff? Like I know we all like thought about it a lot, but like was there any particular approach for you to
yeah.
like dissect the topic that like helps you a lot or
Um, I know there are guidelines for
Mhm.
essays, but I don't know. I personally didn't follow them, and chose to not follow them actually, because so there's one important thing that they say about the college essay is that they say you should stand out, and I think that's true. Like my friend who is a club head right now, he's on the interview side, and he says people who stand out are the ones that are more like that the people remember, you know.
Mhm.
And that's what's impacting like the college out the administrators,
Yeah.
but or admission, sorry. But I think for anybody to do that, if you follow a guideline, doesn't that make the essays similar to other people who are following the guideline? So
Yeah.
I thought that at that time, maybe I should write it my own way and write about the topics that I'm interested in. So
Mhm.
some of the topics that I wrote about that um, I'm interested, or I have like thoughts about, was music,
Mhm.
student as an international student. Wait, that was redundant.
Being an
International
international
student
student.
experience. Specifically, how I think about diversity.
Yeah.
Uh, I think I mentioned homosexuality too, because I'm also gay, so I wrote about that as well.
Yeah.
Um, I wrote about my relationship with my parents. That was one more thing too. But I'd say if I was to give an advice, I think you should know by high school, like even if it's not complete, you should know some of the things that you like. And
Mhm.
writing about what you like is definitely better than something that you're doing it for the sake of college. So I know a
Yeah.
lot of people are doing things that boosts your stats.
Yeah.
Um, but for essays, I think people should write about what you're passionate about, because that's
Yeah.
how you will be able to actually write something that's different from other people.
Be authentic to yourself like just how
Yeah,
like you were authentic to your own process by talking about your own identity and like
yeah.
no one can take away from that. So
Exactly, yeah. Because like
it's
I did volunteers, and I think I wrote about volunteers too for one of the essay, and I was
Mhm.
like, after I finished it, I showed it to my friend, and then my friend literally like edited it and said like, yours just looks like a really classic volunteering
Yeah.
essay. Whereas I have a friend who actually is passionate about volunteer. His essay was like really amazing.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Yeah.
So it depends on like what you're actually passionate about and like
Mhm.
where your interests really lie, as
Yeah.
otherwise you can't really talk about it as well as another person who actually is.
Mhm.
Okay. Um Overall, how long did the process take you?
uh, Stating that I procrastinated, I it took me about like before like 1 month before the deadline, because that's where I would start. So it should take more than that. It should. It's just for me, it took just that 1 month before I turned it in.
Mhm.
Um, it's hard to manage school work and the college app.
Yeah, I agree
Actually,
with you.
that was really annoying. But my teachers were like generous enough to actually cut the workload down or push it till later.
Mhm.
Um, because it was like, oh, like there's a deadline coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
But after that weekend, I can work, like I can work on school stuff fine. So I'll be like communicate. I'll be like communicating with my teachers, and other students actually will be helping me too. Like, yeah. So that was manageable at the end. Um, just the full year, actually, the full senior year. Because after you turn in the app, okay, I can say this. After you turn in the app, now you're waiting for the college results, and you
Yeah.
can say that, oh, like I'm finally over with college app. But in your mind, you're like, oh my god, am I gonna get into that college or am I not? So,
Yeah.
so
Feel
in terms of that, it's a really long process.
um if looking back, like if you could have changed anything about the process, what would you have done differently?
So I mentioned earlier, definitely not procrastinating. No procrastination on the essays, I'd say.
Mhm.
I thought that doing the informational parts early was good. It's opposite. Actually, those things can be procrastinated because you know what to put in. For international students, you have like uh, documents.
Yeah.
Those you cannot procrastinate. But I'm more talking about like the basic infos that everybody who's applying to school in America
Mhm.
fills out. Yeah. Um, Other than procrastination, I'd say like when you go to a college, I
Mhm.
think you can agree with me on this, Ellie. Like you'll have a good experience. No matter where you end up, you're gonna have a good experience because not because like not because like oh like whether you got into like a dream school, top school, or actually not like your so awesome school, you're
Mhm.
gonna have a good experience because it's just better than high school. You have so much restrictions in high school, but everything becomes available and there's so much more resources when you go to universities and colleges. And to use that as your motivation to work harder in your senior year and second semester of junior year, because
Mhm.
my grade dropped a lot in my first semester of senior year, and
Mhm.
I think that's my biggest regret, that I I got worn off so much and I couldn't figure out like how I was supposed to bounce back, and
Yeah.
then my grade just went downhill.
Mhm.
I think that influenced my college app a lot. So I really wish that I seeked out for help. Because like my teachers at my high school were so nice that I probably could have, I don't know, like maybe pushed the deadline a little more, or like let's say like gotten help during office hours more. But usually I didn't. So that's something that I regret a lot. Do whatever you can to stay in shape, kind of like it. Um, yeah, stay sharp and yeah,
Stay active.
stay active.
Just persevere.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Those are the right words.
Mm, what was your school's like academic support system like? I know you mentioned that like you could have seeked more help from your teachers. Like, what was offered at your school?
Um, I'd say like outside of the obvious like teachers giving lectures or office hours, I'd say sometimes there are clubs that will hold discussions or like yeah, but not to be honest, like not much. So a lot of teachers were available outside of the office hours. So our school was really flexible and like if you wanted to ask like a teacher outside
Mhm.
of their office hour because you know that oh like that office hour gonna get filled. then you could ask for them. That was really useful. But I mainly use my friends as resources because most of
Mm-hmm.
the times, like, there are some, not gonna lie, there are some teachers who are bad at teaching. So to those teachers, if even if you go seek for help, sometimes it just doesn't really help me. Then
Yeah.
in that case, I would ask my friends because the friends will have same perspective as you, so they know how to teach, I think. And talking about like specific subjects help. This is just my personal way of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about it helps me the most. So even if I'm doing math, when I explain it to other people, it helps me understand. Bio same way, chem same way. So that was something that's big. Also, I lived in high school dorm as well, and um, there we had what we call like uh, RFs,
Mm-hmm.
which is residential faculties.
Yeah.
Some of them were actual teachers at the school. So, for example, there was an English teacher. So then he can help me with English essays, and also he helped
Mm-hmm.
me with college app as well, writing the essays. So at the end, like at night, right, I can just go to like school teachers. School teachers are not there, but the residential faculties will be there. But for me, I reached out to them for help too.
I see. So you talked about living in a dorm. Like, what was that experience like for you, both in high school and like in college?
Okay, living in a dorm is by far my most favorite experience, I think, throughout my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People in the dorm experience similar things as me because they're in the same similar circumstance. So a lot of times we would talk until really late about how we feel about like the school or like how we feel about like the current United States politics and things like that. They also understand. I'll mention this um, like to look back on it now, it's kind of ridiculous. But I didn't understand the concept of racism until I came to America, and then it was just taught in ninth grade like it was something that I should know, but I
Yeah.
didn't. And there's no way for me to just like suddenly be like, oh, I understand racism and how serious its issue is, because I don't have the United States History Foundation.
Yeah.
Um, Dormers helped me with that because they know that I went through like similar struggle. So then we'll talk about it with each other. And sometimes when I ask day students for help, it's not always there. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's there, but sometimes they don't know what will help me understand
Yeah.
because that key compartment might be a common knowledge for them, so they wouldn't say it. But for international students, they can. So that's how I think I'd say I understand it more now. I wouldn't say I'm confident enough to have a full-on discussion or debate about it, but I think I can try to like understand it now more. Um, Dorms are fun because in my high school dorm, you do a lot of events.
Yeah.
Those were specifically like my de-stress as well. Um, you could go to karaoke with them. You could go to what you guys as day students would call as hangouts. We'll just do it in the dorm, or like we'll just do it with the dormers. But then there are only 40 people, so that like think about a friend group that's like 40 people. That's like so fun. You know, you can like think about like how open you can be if you're doing it with like so many people. So for me, that was fun. It was a really open space too because you're with them 24/7.
Yeah.
So I could really like talk about anything with them, and it's always good to think that, oh, somebody's got my back and I have like
Yeah.
my outlet. um and I still like my first year in college dorm experience was really good too.
Yeah.
I got really busy and I usually like went out to study with others, and I went to like Geisel to study. Geisel is the library at UCSD, but uh, when I went back to the dorm and everybody would be like, "What's up?" I'll be like, "Oh, like my day is over. Like
Yeah.
I'm de-stressing now." Like,
It's like you're coming back to home.
yeah, yes, it is like home. It is home. I'd call it a home. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, when you decided to dorm at UCSD, like,
Mhm.
did you end up dorming, like, rooming with people you knew, or like complete strangers? And like, what went into that decision making process?
Um, I roomed. So it was it was a triple. So I lived with two other guys.
Mhm.
One of them is one of my best friend from Taiwan. When I was studying in Taiwan, we decided to room together. And then um, the other guy is a stranger, but I guess you can call it stranger. But eventually we got to know each other, and then I'd say like we were comfortable with each other. I think um, in making that decision for me, I still have that like it was gonna be bigger. UCSD suites are the one that I was in was 15 people, so I was like
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure if I was gonna live with like 14 other complete uh new people. I
Yeah.
was fine actually. I was fine, but then like my friend happened to be in the same college of the same school, and like
Yeah.
in UCSD you're gonna room with somebody who's in the same college. So I was like, I
Yeah.
mean, why not? So yeah, I'd say that's why I made that choice. But I don't think it like I don't know. I think I would have been comfortable with anything.
Mm, that's awesome. Um, what would you say was your biggest struggle coming into college, and you believe you overcome?
In high school, the sizing became way bigger when I came to UCSD.
Yeah.
My high school was 400. My high school was 400 people,
Mhm.
400 or so people. So the teachers will be able to take care of you like one by one, kind of, and you can like get really focused help. But at UCSD, unless you go to office hours, you don't. There's just way too many people, and there's no way like that one professor or like the several TAs can take care of just like 300 or like so many people, right?
Yeah.
Um, but so the fact that there's no like a more authoritative figure
Yeah.
that's like keeping me in check made it harder. And you'll probably know because like your parents are not there too, so
Yeah.
you kind of have to do everything by yourself.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't say I completely overcame those issues, but in terms of those self-discipline or like staying on track, uh I think friends helped me the most.
Yeah.
So that's why I study with friends, because for me, I think everybody should figure out what their motivation is
Yeah.
and then try to follow that motivation. For me, like when I have the environment, I'm set. So because I didn't have the environment that I wanted, where somebody would just say like, you need to do this, so I decided
Mhm.
to move to another environment that would motivate me, which was if I'm studying with my friends, I would be like, oh, like I should study too. And then yeah, I think it's a little bit of competitiveness, but I'm not too competitive a person in general. So
Yeah.
I'll use that as like a small motivation to get me started, and then eventually like um, keeping a streak after that down.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. So one last question to, or like last two questions to wrap it up, actually.
Mhm.
If you could give any advice to current high schoolers, what would it be? And then my last question would be if you could give any advice to incoming college students, like students who are graduating this year or like about to graduate or have already, and are incoming college students, like what advice would you give to these two groups, like high schoolers and incoming college students?
Okay, hmm. So when you say high schoolers, you mean like people who are not at the stage of
high
applying
schoolers
yet, or
high schoolers are like people who are incoming seniors and they're going to be going
ah?
through the application process, or
Oh,
like
okay, okay.
even juniors right now who are looking at schools and considering, like maybe even people younger, depends on it, whatever audience we reach.
Okay. One thing I'd say is like, um, I'm a pretty lazy person. So I said earlier, I wish I could have tried harder. And then I think everybody should try pretty hard during junior, senior year. And then the reason is because not be, the reason why I say this is because it's actually not entirely about the college app, but once you get in the habit of like trying hard,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to put more work in university. That's what I noticed. Like
Yeah.
the academics, the shift in like the level of academics was pretty immense when I first came into UCSD. But if you've already tried hard enough in high school, you're into that routine, and when you come to UCSD, you kind of know like how it feels, and you will get through them really well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think you'll adapt better. So I'd say try if there was any like point that you should try pretty hard, I think college app process is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, keep in mind that you have to balance yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
What do you mean by that? Like, balance yourself.
Sometimes like you can get so stuck in the process that you're just like constantly thinking about the college app. But first of all, I noticed two things. One, that can stress myself, and second, that can stress other people. Because I'm talkative, and
Yeah.
I'll notice that, oh, I'm talking a lot about college app today, and only that. So then that's when I'll shift towards music or like play League of Legends and stuff like that. So by balance, I mean you're still living your life. It's just you have to dedicate more time into college app, but don't forget that you still have those other things that you can do.
Mm. Yeah, that's totally true.
I'd say that that will actually help you in completing a better college app. Mm. Um, and for the second part, in terms of giving advice to uh, incoming freshmen for
Yeah.
university, this is really specific. So I had a lot of friends around me who didn't get into top choice.
Yeah.
Um, I myself, I'm an example as well, and I think we're all pretty down because, and the reason is you have a comparison. So there will be people who got into their top choice, and the environment's really celebratory. So then
Yeah.
you can't really help or resist but to compare yourself to them and be like, oh, I didn't get into the top choice. Like I have a future, but it's not the best future that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But like what I can guarantee is all of those people that I know who uh, were in the situation so far have said that, oh, I have a pretty good experience. I have a really like good experience in college. So I think everybody should be positive and look towards that. Look forward to that. Um, so during the summer, don't stress out. Like summer, you should be happy. Like you should have fun. Don't That summer should be like the best summer. Make use of it. Like if you have international friends, you should travel. Because I got two of my high school friends to come to Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and I think both of them have never came to Japan, and I had a blast during summer, so that was fun. And then I don't know, keep a positive mindset. Like no matter where you end up, you're gonna have fun. And let's say you didn't like it, okay? Like I'm sure there are people out there who won't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you don't like it, then there's an option for you called transfer, and the transfer process is easier than the college
Yeah,
app.
for
So
sure.
it only goes like better. Everything after that is like better in terms of like difficulties and scales for
Yeah.
college apps. So compared to college apps. So yeah.
Also, I said earlier that that was like the last two questions, but there's like one other question that came up. Like,
Okay.
how would you describe the culture of UCSD and like the culture of this public school environment you wanted to try out after like
Okay.
being a part of a public school environment?
Culture. I'm not sure if I can find the right word because I'm only first year, and right now because we're in COVID,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to have a full experience. I'd say people are really busy. I imagine like New York Town Square, like
Yeah.
that's what I imagined. Like, but I knew it. Like, I knew that that was going to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see what I can do when not a lot of people, particularly like,
Care.
care so much about me. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
Like
I know.
at UCSD, it's not like every single one of the humans out there is gonna care for you because like you just won't. It's like there are like I don't know like 29,000 other people. I don't even remember the number, but there are a lot. There's just
Yeah.
a ton. And finding the people who will care for you is kind of a pretty like adventurous but exciting process.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like. UCSD is one of the nerdier schools, so I think people study a lot.
Yeah.
But within the studies, there are also like de-stresses where student organization will hold events to, I don't know, Boba Run was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always find your friends to like have fun with. Like you have so like you're using the college campus as your playground now. Like you can do so much things. And for me, like I watch anime, so I have all sorts of crazy ideas that I want to do, and I like singing. So um, I don't know. Am I gonna get caught for this? I don't know. But sometimes I sing really loud on campus at really, really late, and it's really satisfying. So yeah, I haven't got complaints, but like, yeah, I did
A
that.
particular friend of ours said something about you riding your bike and singing really loud on my
Yeah,
video.
let's not mention that. Yeah.
um, also realized that I missed another question. What are some extracurriculars that you're participating in,
Oh,
and how
right.
did you like get involved in these specific ones?
Okay. Um, there are changes, but so far, what I've done or I'm doing currently are UTA, United Taiwanese Association, uh, NSU, Nikkei Student Union, um, acapella and acapella group called Frequency, and then I'd say I went to a few um, for TASA too, so Taiwanese American Student Association. And I'm the most involved in UTA right now currently because
Mhm.
I got elected as a board member, so
Yeah.
I'm probably putting in the most work. But for me, it was going into the student organization was a cultural reason and my for my hobby. So I mentioned earlier I like music and I like singing in particular, and that
Yeah.
was something that I didn't get to experience in high school. Not that
Mhm.
it wasn't there, the choir was there, but I was in band for a long time, so I only got to
Mhm.
experience it in my last year, senior year, and I liked it. So I was like, I want to keep going, and I found a platform where I could experience it. Due to some reasons, I'm not in it anymore, but I'd like to experience more about it. Those are like my personal plans, so I don't think I'm going to talk about it. For cultural reasons, I noticed that going to those cultural student organizations,
Mhm.
NSU, UTA, TASA, I was able to find a lot of people who had similar background as me. So I think if you're struggling to find friends who have similar cultural background,
Yeah.
I think everybody can try to go because it's not like you have to stay in it. You can just go
Yeah.
to the events and see if you can find people who have similar backgrounds. And like, there's no way that you're gonna find like everybody like so comfortable to be with. Like
Yeah.
different people have different personalities, but I'm just saying that uh, in those organizations, you might have a higher chance of finding people who have common background as you.
All
Yeah,
right. Thank you so much for sharing for your time.
yeah.
Um,
I'm